All right, time for some YouTube. I wonder what kind of horrible commercials I get subjected to this time.
Pizza or salad?
Oh, it's this fucking guy with his abs.
Which one do you think I'm having for dinner tonight?
Who really gives a
Not
shit?
This. It's definitely not this rabbit food. Why?
Skip.
Because
At Tommy John, we
YouTube, why do you hate me?
Comfortable underwear. And
Stuff that underwear in your mouth so you stop talking. Before you check out every episode of this podcast, I bet you're really missing having to look at dudes' abs or see bulges in men's underwear simply because you're trying to check out some anime. But of course you don't, and we won't torture you with commercials like that. Instead, you can help this podcast remain ad-free by heading over to aaapodcast.com/join or Patreon/AAApodcast. You won't have to listen to any horrible commercials, and you'll be getting 8 exclusive extra podcast episodes a month, our hentai episodes, our hobby addicts, and our after party episodes, just for you. Again, if you want to help us remain ad-free, go to aaapodcast.com/join or Patreon. And now let's start the podcast.
Get ready! You're about to listen to the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. Make your anime addiction worse at aaapodcast.com. And now, here are your anime addicts.
Welcome to the 575th episode of the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. My name is Caroline, and I am joined today by Mitsugi. Do we have Monster today, Mitsugi?
We don't have Monster. I ran all up, but I do have Diet 7-Up. Yeah, with the
Does
little...
it compare?
Mason shaking his head no. No?
Mitts with like Diet 7-Up is like Diet Mitts. Like you're just not at full capacity.
How dare you?
You hit different.
How dare you? But I do have water. See, I have water.
Is it the color of Moe Girl's blood?
It's not, because I left the Moe Girl blood jug in the car where I'm building the camper.
Not the blood jug. Not the blood jug.
Look. I may not have the normal beverages, but I'm still gonna bring it.
I don't know. We're already knocking you back on your heels with discount bids today. No Monster, no blood jug. Like, what's next? What's next?
What's next? No
what's
drops?
Next is Mason here. Hello, Mason.
Hello there. Same as always. No deviation from the norm. Just your average baseline performance from me, as to be expected.
Do you have
Glad
any
to be here today.
to drink today?
Of course, my generic, unspecified, unbranded blue cup full of uniced water, because that is the same level of excitement that I bring to this podcast.
Yes, and I myself had my cup of coffee already, but you can enjoy my mug right here empty.
There you go.
Otherwise, I have just plain water. Yay. All right, well, after our, what do you call it? Like every episode beverage talk?
Yeah, it's important.
Yes, let's start the podcast. You can find us all on social media. You can find us on Twitch, /AAA podcast. We go live every Sunday at 5 p.m.-ish.
Hey now.
Yeah.
Usually 5:10 or somewhere around there.
We
if
do
we're
our
lucky.
best. If
Listen,
you say 5:10, people will show it at 5:20. You have to tell them 5. They show up at 5:10. That's when we start. Boom.
Remember, we discussed that our excuse for always being late is that our hobby addicts just always are so full of content and run so long that we just don't account. That's really the only reason. No other explanation could possibly exist on this planet. No, sir.
Absolutely.
He's right.
You can also find us on Facebook and also on Twitter and also on Discord, which is where we usually do a lot of fun stuff. We meet up, we talk, we chat, we roast each other. It's a lot of fun. But here on the show, we are going to be bringing our own topics to the table, which is, I don't know, just a modge-podge of different things we want to talk about that probably won't last as long as a main topic conversation. And then we also have our round 3 of spring impressions, so that'll be really fun.
Oh, I like it. And what are we going to be doing?
Well, we are going to be reviewing, or impressioning, I guess you would call it. We have 86, Eden Zero, Vivy, Flourite, I Song, NOMAD, Megalo Season 2, The World Ends With You, the animation, and Tokyo Revengers.
Ooh. I wonder what will pass.
I wonder as well. We're going to have to wait and see. Shall we get started with the big news of the week?
I'm so excited. Let's fucking bring it.
おー、大ニュースです。It's time for big news of the week.
Okay. Japan is still really struggling with the coronavirus. So the government is sending, I guess, what is this? Stimulus checks to like rural communities that probably didn't have much tourism or commerce activity to begin with, but now they especially don't. See, I don't know. You gotta understand, like, Japan is like basically like all the young people in Japan live in Kyoto, and they live in Osaka, and they live in Tokyo, and then all of the and Nagoya, and everywhere else is just like retirees. I mean that's what I observe from Japan. So when you got to think about like the threat level of the virus from old people to young people, you got to imagine that like there's not a lot going on in rural Japan right now. So the Japanese government sent a grant to Noto in Ishikawa Prefecture, which I don't even know where that is. Like
in Japan.
Noto, Ishikawa. I'm just gonna look it up here on the map, and because I just want to see what part of Japan Noto is in. Oh my god, nobody ever has gone to Noto ever. Oh my goodness.
Next thing you know, it's going to be the location of the next slice of life in the countryside.
I don't even know how to describe it. It's basically like, you know how Japan is shaped like a banana with the curve facing west?
West, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you started at Tokyo and you go directly diagonally across the country through the mountain range, there's like this little hook that comes up off the top of the country, and there's this prefecture called this area called Noto up there that looks like probably no one has ever traveled there ever for any reason. It's so out of the way.
Well, Mitz, can you give me one reason why I should go to Noto?
I can't. But well,
you're not about to give me one.
Okay, I got. Well, this is not. I don't believe that this is a good enough reason to go that far out of your way. But so Noto took this 25 million yen grant, which is about $260,000, and what did they do with it? They built a giant squid, 13 meters long, or about 43 feet, and 9 meters in width, and 4 meters in height. And not only that, the 25 million yen wasn't actually enough to build the squid, so they had to actually spend 27 million yen, which is, 10% roughly more than they were given, to cover the costs. And the squid is located outside Noto's Tsuku Mall Michi no Eki, or road station. There are, I guess, lots of like roadside rest stops in this area where they offer like local foods and crafts and whatnot. And Noto is famous for squid, I guess. So I guess the people that were in charge of the prefecture figured that if they put a giant squid statue, it would encourage people to visit and thereby buy more stuff from the... It's ridiculous. I got a picture here. I'll put the picture up in the Twitch. I don't have the picture handy at the moment, but I'll get it. It's just bizarre. Like, and I guess this squid is about as big as a Gundam would be, according to like Gundam lore. So, and probably about as big as the Gundam statue that was built.
I love how there's a hole in it. So do you think people can climb inside of the squid?
Oh my god. You probably could, considering its size. You could probably literally crawl completely inside of it, and you'd probably get stuck.
So is this all that different than like all the Paul Bunyan statues that like litter the American landscape? Like, I feel like it's just that, but more unique and a little more sea-based.
I don't know, but I'm just here to bring you guys bizarre stuff every week, to an extent, when there's not really like super interesting anime news that I want to talk about. So here you go. What else can you ask for except giant squids?
I'm kind of hoping that spinning off of this now famous squid in this little it's not even seaside town. It's this little town. I am kind of hoping they will turn this into an anime, and the main character will be the squid, or a bunch of moe girls with an imaginary friend as a squid.
I love that in the photo I just put on Twitch. There's like a Japanese dude who's clearly like a news reporter, and he's looking at the octopus with the microphone, facing away from the camera, and he's got his head tilted like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing? Like, what have I done with my life? This is where I am in my life. I'm reporting on giant squid statues.
Well, I like it because he's facing away, holding a microphone, so it looks like he's interviewing the squid and like asking it the question. The squid, mouth gaping open, is like responding to the best of its ability. So I like it. I love it. It scares the crap out of me because giant sea creatures are like terrifying, but it's I'm glad it exists for some reason.
Is this up there in terms of fears for you, Mason? Giant squids?
No, just like being in like deep oceans with like the dark unknowns of the abyss is it's pretty spine tingling, which is why everyone should play Subnautica because it's a really cool game. But anyway,
I mean, I can only imagine that like some of the residents in this town would be kind of annoyed. Like, I cannot believe we got this money. We could have improved the foundation. We could have made a park. We could have made so extra parking, whatever.
Extra parking.
Instead, we paid all this money for a giant squid statue that we probably can't even touch because, those kind of things, they would probably have little signs everywhere saying, like, do not touch giant squid.
Don't touch the squid. You'll make it angry.
No touch.
Okay, so that's all I had for today. I was just bring a little bit of levity for you. Caroline?
Yes. I was also kind of not interested in any actual anime news, so I did use the Mitsugi route and find just a random and strange story from Japan. And here's this one. At a supermarket in the Yokohama's Isogo ward, a 19-year-old shoplifter stole a drink, and then he proceeded to punch a security guard in the face when the security guard found him out. Then, a 17-year-old high school girl who had been on her way home, she had heard what was going on. She came to the rescue, grabbing the violent shoplifter by the arm, and then when the shoplifter shook her off and tried to run away, the schoolgirl's 18-year-old friend gave chase. He then caught up to the shoplifter, put him in a headlock, and delivered a series of knee strikes to subdue him until the police arrived.
Oh my
and then they
God.
placed him under arrest. And then he's quoted saying, "I was able to put my experiences from 9 years of studying karate to use. I'm glad I was able to help with the arrest." And now both of them have been issued a letter of commendation from the prefectural police's precinct.
And you know what I'm going to say, right?
What?
And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
I'm just surprised that this was all for one drink. We don't even know what kind of drink it was.
Did they have a dog with them?
No, not that I read of.
Okay, that would have been a little too sharp right on the nose.
Yeah,
How come this like big news of the week has turned into Nihon crime segment?
We can make that a new segment, actually. But yeah, if you were interested to know the headline of the story, it is Japanese schoolgirl and karate teen subdue violent shoplifter. They really missed the opportunity to use a Karate Kid reference.
I think it's fantastic.
What is the like gas station like beverage that you would be willing to fight someone for? Like you go to the gas station, you reach for the last container of this, and like some trucker reaches for it at the same time, and your hands touch, and you realize there's only one left, and you realize you've got a duel in this back alley parking lot to decide the victor. What drink is that?
This is like a very bento situation.
It is.
I don't know. There's not really many drinks that I feel all that attached to that I wouldn't just go to a different drink.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say Monster. That's a little too cheap. I like the Firebrand coffee in Japan. It's like the iced coffee can in the can. I'd fight a man for the last Firebrand coffee on Earth.
Oh, there you go. I'll take that.
All right. Please tell me you have anime news, Mason.
I do have a little bit of anime news. The easy layup that I get to talk about because I put it in first, and it's obviously big news. Speaking of the Abyss, Made in Abyss is getting a second season in 2022 as well as a video game. So season 1 came out in 2017, as well as the movie Dawn of the Deep Soul in 2020, both done by Kinema Citrus. For the one person who hasn't seen it, it tells the story of a young girl named Riko who befriends a robot boy, and they go into this giant hole called the Abyss, searching for clues about the girl's missing mother. Season 2 will be called Made in Abyss, The Sun Blazes Upon the Golden City, which sounds really optimistic to me, so I'm excited for it, besides the fact that I love the series and the movie. But more interesting to me, and I think what I want your opinion on, is the video game that's coming out, done by Spike Chunsoft, who did the Danganronpa and Attack on Titan video games, is doing a 3D action RPG called Binary Star Falling into Darkness. It will have
movies with these names.
I know, it's straight out of like I think Binary Star is like the name of the opening for Legend of the Galactic Heroes. But anyway, it will be fully voiced, will ship to the PS4, Switch, and PC in both English and Japanese. So, would you guys play a Made in Abyss video game?
Yeah.
Knowing that it has the strongest, or I should say the highest, like, age rating. Like, this is not going to be like a PG game. This is going to be like an extreme, brutal game.
I mean, I feel like Made in Abyss has the makings of a good video game, experience. And since I have a Switch, and I the thing is that, like, the only actual game system that I have is a Switch, because I also have a MacBook, and that doesn't really play many games.
Yeah.
And I don't have a PlayStation. So if it's coming out on the Switch, I'd be excited to play it.
Okay.
I mean, do I have to pay $60 for it?
Assumedly, probably.
I don't know. I don't have much faith in these types of games. I mean, there's a lot of anime games, and they don't end up being very good usually. If they're good, it's usually more like the game comes first, and then the anime gets made after the game. Like, like this Gaia came first, and then they made an anime, or Persona came first, and then they make an anime.
Or The World Ends With You, very topical.
Oh, well, yes, thank you very much. But I mean, I probably wouldn't. I mean, if I got to pay $60 for it, and knowing that it might not be very good, you're taking kind of a big risk, I think, on it. So, and the company, I don't really know much about them, so probably not. Sorry to be the grumpy one.
But either way, excited for season 2? Yay? Nay?
Yes.
I think I got to finish season 1.
I haven't seen the movie yet, which is something I also have to do, but I am looking forward to continuing it.
Yeah, I got to finish season 1 of this anime first, so. Okay.
That's all I had.
Well, I think it's very big news, though. So, I think everybody will watch season 2 of Made in Abyss.
Glad that Mason came through with actual news.
And I'll have to finish season 1 because Pancake will want to watch season 2 with me because she's a big fan of this one. So. And
you do, unlike the Demon Slayer movie, you do need to watch the Made in Abyss movie to really help know what happens.
Oh, man. That sucks.
And it is brutal.
Is it, like, are there any, like, gory moments in it, like that one episode?
It definitely turns everything up. I would say it turns it up to 11, but season 1 was already at 11, so they just added another amplifier next to it, is probably what I would say.
Well, I will have to watch it at some point soon. All right, so let's move on, shall we?
Let's do it.
It's time to bring your own topic today. Would you like to go first, Mitsuki?
Sure. Well, it is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Crazy that all our moms were born on the same day. Like, what a coincidence, isn't it?
Really?
Like, that's
amazing.
That's how it works, right? That's why it's no. Oh, okay.
Mitsuki's mom's actually here today in Denver, so we're going to be taking her out to dinner tonight. So the podcast is going to wrap up in about 10 minutes. So we got to be quick now. I'm just kidding. So,
She's
I thought
hungry. We eat now.
There's usually like this cliche in anime where it's like the like, where are the parents? And so, and a lot of times rather than have a topic about the best mothers in anime, which is kind of, we've done that already. I think I'd rather discuss like anime where the kids in it really needed mothers to be there in the show, because where are they when all this stuff is happening? And just to kick it off with an example, and I can't I think there's maybe an aunt in this show, but I don't really remember there being a mother. But Denocoil, which is a show about like kids that are romping around with like these AR headsets and getting into all sorts of dangerous trouble. Where the hell are the parents? Like, I feel like these kids are routinely like crawling through trash and junkyards and getting like their brains hacked or whatever, and just being in general peril for most of the show. And I feel like there's no one there to supervise, no one there to take care of their kids. And who in the hell bought these headsets and why? Because you know they were expensive, and these kids are like 8, and you know they don't have any money, and the parents were like, fuck it, go kill yourselves in some junkyard with this headset. And Captain Avatar on Twitch says, aren't most parents dead in anime? No.
Well, that's the problem. Like, I was looking through my list, and there's so many like kids who like don't have a mom or a dad, but like it's just because they're dead, or you know, they just went off on an adventure. Like, it's hard to find something where they don't have a parent show up, and it's just like you don't know why, or maybe they're there and they just never get shown, and you're like, what's the deal behind it?
And what's the deal with airline food?
What's the deal with anime moms? So like, for example, one person I thought who really could use a hug from his mommy, but just we never learned anything about his family, was Rintaro Okabe from Steins Gate. And I know the show is not about his family life and getting into all that, but he just has a sibling, assumedly, and parents who do stuff, and like they never get mentioned, they never get brought up. He's out being a vagabond rogue agent scientist in a lab, and we just don't really know anything about his upbringing, and he's like just going through some rough times in life, and just where's his mom? I don't think we even know her name. We don't know what they do. Like, I feel like for how much we get into the characters and their backstories and mindset, he's like the one character we don't learn anything about his parents.
I definitely feel like they could have benefited from that, because he clearly had a strange upbringing.
Yeah, he's a wacky boy.
He's a weird gentleman, I'd say. Oh boy. And then there's Caroline.
I didn't think of anything.
That's okay. It's okay.
Sorry.
Because
how about this then? If there was a character whose parents perhaps maybe passed away, or we know why they're not there, who could you retroactively be like, you know what, you get your mom back? Who really needs that guiding light in their life?
You know, I don't know. Initially, what I was thinking of was Naruto, but the thing is that
Plot's
the main
over.
reason why I thought of Naruto is because it's so darn frustrating to figure out his backstory. Like, yes, he was alone, and the sad music plays. But anyway, and then they kind of just gloss over the fact that here he is, a newborn baby, 1 day old, and is like, who took care of him? Who, like, actually, like, you see him, like, as a toddler kind of taking care of himself. But before that, when you are completely useless and unable to do anything for yourself, who cared for him?
nobody.
They don't tell you. It's like, when you care for a baby, you become attached to that child no matter what. I mean, with certain people,
Is that true?
you can just forget
Assumedly.
about, because, you know, abusive people. But in this anime, there would have been a person caring for them, and they would have cared for him, like, personally. But you don't see them. Who are they?
Here's my headcanon.
It's true.
He just would crawl around on the floor of the ramen shop and just like a dog, and people would be like, oh, feed him some scraps. And that's how he loves ramen. He learns all his banter from listening to old dudes just like chat in a ramen shop. That's all you need to know. And something Hokage, boom, plots go.
Something Hokage boom.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you need to know.
No, it's that you just gloss over too much, and that's what annoys me about Naruto. But, anything else?
It's actually a pretty good one, you know? Like, I mean, at least it all ends up well in the end for Naruto.
Yeah, I guess, but I am a person that does not like certain plot holes in their media, and that was a major one for me.
All right.
Did you have another one, Mitch?
I got another one. I had like, it's just kind of along the same lines, like pretty much anybody in Initial D, you know, like whatever the hell Fujiwara, the main kid, like his dad, Takumi, like his dad's in it, obviously, and his dad's a total like badass, by the way. But he's just like smoking a cigarette. He's like hands-free drifting. He's like lighting a cig in the middle of the drift.
Don't drink your cup of water.
But like he has no mother, and it's like these kids are like flipping their cars over on these mountain roads and driving like downhill in the dark in oncoming traffic lanes while going around turns. And they're just, I always wondered, like, you're just one random car coming up the mountain away from just dying, basically. And which I think is just totally wild. And then it's like they're always wrecking their cars, and somehow they manage to fix these cars, despite the fact that it seems like most of the characters in this anime, like they're always working at gas stations, or they're in high school, so they're not gonna have any money. And it's like, where the hell are the parents? And they just sort of fix your car when you flip it, and like, you know, whatever you need, because this stuff's not cheap. You know, like tires alone are expensive, and it's like, so they're just gonna like, here you go, here's $1,000, buy yourself some new tires because you burn up your old ones. Oh, and by the way, if you go get yourself killed, I don't really give a shit because I'm not in this anime anyway. That's kind of how it goes in Initial D. There's no parents, no supervision, and by the way, no police. Where the fuck are the police?
I mean, yeah. They know the law. There's the law, and then there's street racing law, and the police know where they're not invited.
I guess so. That's pretty much all I had to bring to the table. Just a little shout out, you know, where are the moms?
Shout out to the moms. Yeah, my second one was also not a great pick because this character, you know, is probably doing fine. We clearly know he has a mom, but once again, just don't know why she doesn't appear. But it is Shoyo Hinata from Haikyuu. We know he has a younger sister. We meet her. We see a lot of time with him at like home, just doing his thing. We never see his family. We just, not even in passing. And I guess once again, it's not crucial to the plot. It makes no difference that she is or isn't there. But nonetheless, it just feels a little like, poor Kay. Why don't we get... Hey, we know la madre. So, yeah, it was hard to find people whose parents were just not there because of artistic decisions.
All right. Well, I think Caroline's is a little more interesting, so we should move on probably.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Now, if anybody like knows me, knows that I love openings, and I love talking about openings. And there were quite a few good ones this season, and so I would like to give a rundown of the openings of the shows that I am reviewing or have made impressions on this season, and kind of go from like my least favorite to my most favorite. But generally, they are all pretty decent, except for maybe one of them, which is at the bottom of the list. And again, these are all based on my personal opinions. So if you think they're good, then your opinions are also valid. Or if you think something's not good, of course, opinions valid. Bottom of the list, number 7 is Goku Shufudo, Way of the House Husband. Now, you have heard me rant about Way of the House Husband and how just god-awful it is without its animation. And some people don't mind it all that much without animation, and that's fine. But there are a lot of patterns and colors just thrown together like haphazardly in this opening without much rhyme or reason. And it just seems that like they're trying to hide the fact that there really isn't much substance in it. It's also not a very accurate representation of the show, except for that lack of animation. And I think that's mostly because like the song is very like in your face, like whoa. And I think with the proper opening, it would have been okay, but it's like not. It doesn't really drive well for me.
What was it like? One more time.
Whoa.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Okay, that's done. Number 6 is The Saint's magic power is omnipotent. It's pretty, but it's a little bit boring. But at the same time, the song is very slow, but it's also a bit catchy. And you know, it's like a, you know, standard emotional shoujo kind of opening. So it's not bad, but it's decent. It's okay. Just okay. Number 5 is Slime 300. I'm not going to say the entire title of the show because I can't remember it. Not a lot to say here. It's just so freaking adorable. So I had to place it above that. Number 4, The World Ends Number 4, The World Ends With You. Has really great transitions. I always love a good transition in an opening. And despite changing the song very last minute, we've talked about it in prior episodes because, the band got in trouble, or the drummer of the band got in trouble. They changed the song very last minute. I think it was like of the week that it was coming out. And it actually works pretty well regardless. The song that they chose is actually a version of a song that is used in the original World Ends With You games. So I think even despite the change, it's a good callback and people appreciate it either way. But yeah, it's a good opening, I would say.
Number 3.
Okay. We have Shadow's House, which is interesting because there's no singing in it. It's very instrumental. And it's very prescribed to one idea, and that would be the connections between the dolls and their shadow counterparts in the show. And so it's simple and effective, and I think it's overall pretty good.
Number 2.
Okay.
It's so hard to remember that it's coming.
Yes. We have NOMAD, Megalobox Season 2, which is also very interesting because, like Shadow's House, there is no singing, and it's very different from the first season's opening. But even so, it is quite good, just like the first one. The thing is that it's a mix of scenes from both seasons and colorful graphic designs, which is very cool looking, but I do feel like they probably should have just stuck to one aesthetic. But again, that's just my opinion. The song, very catchy as well, even though there is no singing. And
Number 1.
yeah, we have Joran, the Princess of Snow and Blood. And unlike the rest of the show, it is kind of hard to deny how good this opening is. A lot of great colors. The Sakuga, like the rest of the show, it's great Sakuga. And the song is catchy AF. I love it. It's a great opening. And, some people will go back and forth. I'm very back and forth about Joran, but at the very least, the opening is top notch. And there you have it.
I'm going to be honest, I don't really pay attention to the openings really. So, and I haven't really watched all the mini shows from the season yet, so I didn't really make a list, but I know Mason did.
Yeah, I did. I also usually skip openings until we get to the halfway point because I don't know. I don't like being spoiled from what's to come. I don't like getting a feel for what the show is from just the opening alone. I feel like it can give away or take away a lot from the show. So that said, I watched every opening from this season.
Wow.
Just for this to find.
Oh my gosh.
I made a top 5.
Such a badass.
You didn't have to do that, Mason.
He's such a badass.
Listen,
though.
if you're going to talk about the best shows or the best openings of a season, you have to watch every opening.
I was just doing it based on what I've seen.
I didn't know that when you made the list, so I watched
said
them all.
of what I've seen.
Yeah, but
in the
listen,
notes.
You can't just talk about it in just such a laissez-faire. So here are my top 5 of the season. Number 1, and I guess, sorry, not in any order. The opening for Zombieland Saga Revenge is, if you don't like the show and you don't like this opening, you just don't like fun. It has such a kinetic energy. It's got such a catchy song that gets better each time you hear it. The neat visual effects with Mappa just flexing on us with memorable images, like the whole Idol crew riding one massive tandem bicycle, just is amazing. I love the song. I love the visuals. It's great. I'd say Mars Red, just as a shout out to give the show more credit, because this is probably one of the best sounding shows of the season. It's got this traditional sounding instrumentation at play, and it just absolutely slaps. Check that one out. It's not my favorite style of music, but Odd Taxis, K-pop chill bop that starts it off, is amazing. It's got this sweltering sax and textured animation that just, while I wouldn't listen to it outside of the show, it perfectly matches the vibe and gets you excited for Taxi. I really don't like Koi Kimo. I think the show is kind of concerning, but similar to almost Domestic Girlfriend's opening, the opening of this just has this propulsive momentum and solid production that makes if I did like Koi Kimo, I think this opening you like wouldn't be able to skip it because it's a lot of fun and gets you hyped up. And I'll stop there. Let's just do top 4. We'll leave it at that.
I gotta watch more OPs.
You do. This is overall like a very strong year for OPs, and I could have given more shout outs to a ton of other shows, so it was pretty competitive. So good year for OPs, or season I should say.
All right, Mason, and what was your idea?
My idea, kind of whatever, just I'm recently watching Initial D, so I've already seen the first stage, but I was like, I've kind of seen all that this show has to offer. Like, I get the street racing, I get
you are
the Euro
wrong.
beats, and I was like, stage 1, it was good. I really enjoyed it, but I think I got all there was to offer. And last week, I'm watching all these seasonal shows, and I was like, you know what? I want to watch something that's already out, maybe a little bit more classic. And I decided to restart up Initial D with stage 2, and I'm reminded how damn fun the show is and easy to just binge and marathon, and it's been a blast. But it really dawned on me, the show does not look good. It's never looked good, and it never will look good. But nonetheless, it is a great time. So I wanted to know, what are the ugliest shows that you like? And I want to specify, not in like a ping pong or Windy Tales or show that like is artistically just different and off or used for different effects. Like, I want to know the shows that probably wanted to look better and for budget or time or whatever reason don't, but you still enjoy.
Mason, before we get into this, I just want you to know that the 4th stage of Initial D is the best stage.
Well, I have just watched stage 3, which is the movie, and stage 4 is on my watching list right now. So
it's also
it is
the
in
best.
the queue.
It's also the best looking of all of the Initial D.
But is that really such a high bar to clear?
It
Also,
isn't.
I could be wrong. I think a different studio did every season of Initial D.
I'm not sure about that, but
around.
I'm not sure about that, but I feel like Initial D's budget got bigger and they got better at just generally doing the cars, especially as time went on. And Initial D definitely peaks in season 4 in stage 4. You can stop after that.
Okay.
By the way, stage 5 is not worth watching.
Stage 5 and the final stage are both skippable, you say?
I think so, in my opinion.
We'll see. We'll see. I'll definitely be watching 4, so I'll let you know then. And this can be either ugly, just overall show, or just to make it easier, any character designs where you're just like, oh, those look out of place. So who wants to start?
For me, an anime that I've watched probably 10 times is Kite, the super violent OVA about the assassins, and the anime. I don't think it looks very good though. I mean, there's a lot of really awkward like still images in it that just make no sense. The character designs in it are okay, but they're not great looking. But mostly, I think that the animation is just a little suspect, especially for an OVA. And as I said, some of those really awkward still images where they just like zoom in on a character that just it's basically just zooming in on an image. But mostly you're there for the fight scenes, and the fight scenes are pretty serviceable. But so Kite would be the first one on my list, and I do encourage people that like action to watch Kite. Just be aware that there is an uncensored full hentai version of Kite that honestly the hentai in it is entirely unnecessary, and without it plays just fine. It's like a 1 hour movie, and it's got some pretty intense violence and some lengthy, just unreal action scenes. So it's definitely worth it for that. But Kite would be the first one. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
and you have to watch the sequel to it just for the opening scene of like I don't want to spoil anything, but the dropping scene where it just keeps on getting lower and lower and falling into other objects is amazing. At least watch that on like Sakugo Boru or some website just to see that in action, because it's quite good there.
There's a lot of pretty wild shit going on.
But it is a very off-putting anime, both visually and some of the adult content.
All right.
Caroline?
I'm sorry. My father is interrupting me.
All right. It's
I
day after your
texted him
birthday.
so he doesn't have to interrupt the show that we are doing live right now.
Oh, it's not Father's Day, but he just didn't want to be left out.
Exactly. It's all good. It's all good.
And yes, Supra in the Twitch said that Kite Liberator is so disappointing, and you are so correct. Considering how, like, just in my world, awesome Kite is, and the music too is pretty. The saxophone music, Kite Liberator is a pile of dog shit, and the movie with Samuel L. Jackson is even worse.
Oh no!
Just don't even fucking bother. Caroline?
Sorry, I was not paying attention because I was dealing with the situation. So yes, I'll give you the ugliest shows that I liked. As Mason mentioned, I also think that Shiki is interesting looking. Could be better, but I think it's just the hairstyles that really get me. Dr. Stone, similarly, I feel like
How dare
the
you?
character design.
Oh, did we lose her?
We lost
Did
her.
we lose me? She's gone.
No,
She's
just Caroline.
Rip Caroline. Her dad came in, got shunned away. He's like, no, I'm not gonna take this and like unplug the internet from the house.
Why don't you give us another one?
Oh,
She returned.
oh, she might be back. We'll see. We'll keep
What?
on trucking. You were gone
You
for
froze.
like a
Your
minute.
internet froze.
Oh.
Last you said was Dr. Stone was hot garbage, and then Mitch just canceled you,
Yep.
and
Bye.
that's where we stopped.
Goodbye.
Sorry, I'm now embarrassed. So it ruined my rhythm and also my internet. And finally, I have Kino's Journey, which I actually just thought about because we just watched it in Anime Club. The thing
yeah.
is that I actually really did not mind how it looked, but everybody else kind of is like, it just looks really dated, that kind of thing. But honestly, I think I really liked the design of it, and I really liked the show of it. And if it was designed solely in a similar way of the more recent of it, I don't think I would have liked it as much.
Okay,
As well, it does
great.
look aesthetically prettier. I just don't think it jives well with the story that was being told. So, sorry, what did you say?
Kino's is good. Everyone loves Kino. All my homies love Kino.
I don't. I don't love Kino's Journey. I think it's boring. So.
Ew, Mitsugi, why?
It's boring, especially
You're boring.
Man. Just this little Kino riding around on his motorcycle, just visiting these dumb towns that are just dumb. Sorry, I'm not really.
No, that's fine.
And it's so long. God, the original is like 26 episodes of that. Is it not?
It's like 13.
Is it not 26 episodes?
I think it's 13.
It might have felt like 26 episodes. I'm gonna look this up.
If you're adding in like the remake from like 4 years ago, maybe.
Well, we will see. I'm looking it up here. I don't know.
enough.
Anyway, so
here's my take
Yes.
of a show that I think doesn't look bad in the stills, but I mean, and yes, it's very dated, but I think the show could have looked a lot better, which is Trigun. I remember, I mean, I still like the show. I loved it a lot as a kid. Rewatching segments and clips nowadays, like animation wise, it does not hold up all that great. It is very dated. I mean, because it's from the past, it makes sense, but I just wish it had a little bit more of that charm and like Cowboy Bebop-esque like holding up. And yes, it's unfair to compare things to one of the most like solid shows of that time, but
yeah.
Trigun just it was a lot cheaper. They did not have $1 million, $1 billion, whatever it was budget.
I got lazy and didn't actually check the episode count for Kino's Journey, but Aoyama Motoko-chan from the Twitch said it's 13 episodes. But look, it felt like 26 episodes.
That's
Okay.
how boring it was.
It's just like, in this town, we have ducks on our heads and we walk backwards. Oh, and Kino's like, oh, it's so interesting. I like this. Oh, and look at my gun that I have for no fucking reason.
Whoa. Persuader. That's how
Sorry,
you get around
look at
the
my
law.
persuader, man, and I can spin it on my finger, and I have like a leather holster, and I'm so cool, and my motorcycle talks. Okay.
Cool.
Anyway, for me, the next one here, I think, has got to be Dragon Ball Super. I mean, I enjoyed several sections of Dragon Ball Super quite a lot. I'd say it was about 50-50 for me, hit or miss. But Dragon Ball Super is some of the worst looking trash you'll ever watch. I mean, it was so bad that it was like meme worthy on the internet. So some of those shots of Goku, especially early on, were so embarrassing that I think it was like fan base crushing that it looked that terrible. And because old Dragon Ball looks pretty good, and some of the old Dragon Ball movies like move pretty okay too, but Dragon Ball Super was just terrible on all marks. This is the films aside, because the films look great. But man, especially like early on, some of those shots of like Super Saiyan 3 Goku were so embarrassing. I felt bad for it as a fan, and I expect they're going to make more Dragon Ball Super. I just don't know how they can get any more powerful than they already are. It's so insane at this point. But yeah, that's about it. Everybody knows. So
Mit's watching DB Super, watches these initial episodes. He turns to me and he's just like, "I'm never going to recover from this." And
it was fucking terrible. I mean, it was just like, you know, there weren't really words to describe how bad it looked. I mean, but I still watched every episode of it.
Commitment.
Ooh, it is a commitment. So.
Last one I want to talk about, just so we can keep things moving, is more not in the way the show looks or is animated, but the character designs of Clannad are a bit much. I think most people can agree that it was one of the first anime where it's like the eyes are just, even for anime, a little too excessive and grandiose, and it kind of took a while to get accustomed to. So I would want like a Clannad Redux where they just the only thing they change is a eye resizing. But besides that, still a good show, very solid, and you know, it's Kyoto Animation, so you can't complain too much.
Can't handle the eyes.
I just can't handle. It's not that one show with the iconic, like the eyes take up the entire face, a la Marvin the Martian style, but it's a lot.
I get what you're saying. Caroline?
Well, I already gave my 3.
You gave all 3 of them?
I did. Yeah, I kind of just rambled them off because I thought you guys rambled yours off when I wasn't paying attention, and then I had to deal with my dad over text message. So
Chat wants your dad to be a recurring character on the show.
I do not, because he knows that this is a thing that is live that I'm recording, and he should have texted me in the first place. This was about taxes that he should have done a long time ago, and he chooses now instead of any other part of the day, any other part of the weekend,
but
any other part of the week.
Is he doing your taxes?
Yeah.
So, okay, we can't hold it completely against them.
Okay, yeah, but it's something that he could have asked me about any other time. This is the only time he cannot.
Only a Carpathian would choose now and choose New York.
Sorry, I'm just annoyed.
Anyway.
Because I also don't have the answer that he's looking for, and he's probably going to be like, whoa, why don't you have this thing? And I'm like, I don't know.
Where's your 1040?
Yeah, I sent an email while you guys were talking, so I was very distracted, so I'm sorry.
Come on,
No
Dad.
It was a fun little back and forth.
All right. Well,
I'm just more annoyed than anything else. Sorry.
the last one I had was Dot Hack Sign. Like, I think it's a good franchise. I just think Dot Hack looks like ass. Just generally, pretty much all of it looks bad.
Yep.
And the games are pretty fun, by the way, even though they bullshit them and make them like 4 games, so you had to buy 4 fucking games. But you know, that's also been done before. But that's about it. That's about it.
Well, I think we can get to our little news break, because we got lots of
have a lot more to get to
stuff after the break.
Yeah, a lot more.
So with that, we are going to leave you with a quick trivia question to keep your brain going in the meanwhile. In the show 86, the 5-hued flag of San Magnolia represents the 5 moral principles of the Republic. Can you name at least 3 of the 5 principles? We'll let you know what all of them are after the break. Stay tuned.
Anime fans, this is Mitsugi, and it's time for that sweet anime news. Getting us started off with a big new anime announcement. Overlord is getting a 4th season. This was broadcast on a commemorative special program for Nico Nico, in which it was announced that Kugane Maruyama's light novel is getting a 4th season. The director is Naoyuki Ito, who has also worked on previous seasons of Overlord. And of course, the studio is Madhouse. Maruyama originally launched this fantasy novel back in May of 2010, and it also has, of course, 3 other seasons of the anime, which have already come out previously. It was adapted in summer of 2015 by Studio Madhouse, and again in the winter of 2018, and a 3rd season in the summer of that same year. So, big-time property, Overlord, lots of fans, so if you're looking for more of that, just wait, you won't have to wait much longer. Next up, the manga Amanchu is ending in the next chapter. So the official website for Mag Garden's Mag Komi website revealed that on May 10th, they're going to be wrapping up the Amanchu manga, which means that by the time you're hearing this podcast, it'll pretty much already be wrapped up. Amano began publishing that slice of life scuba diving manga in monthly Comic Blade. I'm always just blown away by how many comic magazines there are in Japan. In November of 2008, and then switched to Mag Komi, the magazine's web version later on. So if you're a fan of Amanchu, JC staff adapted it into 2 television anime seasons in the summer of 2016 and the spring of 2018. And you'll be able to check out those properties for those of you that are sad that the manga is ending. Next up, Persona 5 gets a 3rd stage play in Osaka and Yokohama in December of this year, further extending the amount of time that we'll have to wait to get Persona 6 as they milk the hell out of Persona 5 endlessly. There's going to be more details revealed about the stage play later, but for now it is titled Persona 5 Stage Number 3. And it looks like the 2nd stage play of Persona 5, which was titled Stage Number 2, ran in Yokohama and Osaka last October. And the 1st play also ran in Tokyo and Osaka in December of 2019. So they're just banging these things out like every 6 months to a year. So if you want to check out the stage play somehow, maybe you can watch it online. Maybe if you happen to be in Japan, maybe you can check it out. But it looks like Persona 5 still getting lots of different spin-off properties and activity outside of course, Persona 6, which is what I want. Next up, and lastly, a new Dragon Ball Super movie has been announced for 2022, making this the 7,922nd film in the Dragon Ball universe. Toei Animation announced that this was going to be happening, and Akira Toriyama is going to be writing and designing the characters. So they don't have an actual date yet, but in 2022 in Japan probably means it will be coming to the States sometime after that. And of course, the Dragon Ball series needs no further introduction. This was Mitsugi, and this was your anime news break. And now, as we always do, time to get back to the podcast. Oh God, I hate this song. It's so annoying. Skip ad. Skip.
Hi, it's Vince with
Oh,
Sham
fuck
Wow.
no.
You'll be saying wow.
I'll be
every
saying,
time you use this
wow, you're
towel.
so fucking
It's
annoying.
Like a chamois,
It's a
like
chamois, it's a
but
towel. Oh, who
liquid
really
towel
cares?
doesn't work
Skip. Anime addicts, do you miss ads like that? Do you miss your buddy Vince from ShamWow? Of course you don't, because we don't torture you with ads like that. Instead, if you want to support the podcast, you can help us stay ad-free by going to aaapodcast.com/join. Hey, you can head over to patreon.com/aaapodcast for those of you that like Patreon. And you're going to get our hentai episodes, our hobby addicts, our after parties. And, of course, it's going to be commercial-free, so you get all that. What else could you possibly want? Again, over at aaapodcast.com/join and support the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. Or we can just listen to this music. All right, guys. When we left you, we had an intro trivia question in the show 86. The 5-hued frage of San Magnolia represents the 5 moral principles of the Republic. Can you name at least 3 of the 5 principles? F is for freedom. E is for equality. B is for brotherhood. J is for justice. And N is for the nobility. So, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I did some drugs on the news break, and I came back, and I was like, wee!
Well, we got somebody in the Twitch chat who answered not only 3, but all 5 of them, and that would be protagonist or protagonist, or however they like to pronounce it.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. If I had a cookie, I'd give it to them. All right, well, I don't really have a special drop for Caroline's segment here that she's going to do where Mason will eviscerate me, I have no doubt. But here's some game show music.
Okay, so this has been in the works for a while. I like to play games, and the only personal segment that I can think of involved games. And while initially this is going to be all about listeners playing, which I'm sure that we will do in the future, I figured that for the last minute first edition of this game, it'll be between Mitsuki and Mason. So I will be keeping track on my little notepad here. Your name's down, Mitsuki and Mason.
It's my name to
and
word out.
Here is the game that we'll be playing. We are going to be playing a game that I would like to call, if I can bring it up on my computer here, Anime Associations. Yay! So okay. In this game, I will be giving you a list of keywords one at a time. So our keywords, character names, studios, etc. It could be anything regarding an anime. And I will be giving it to you one by one because honestly, if I gave you all 3 of these words, you guys would get it instantaneously. So whoever gets the first point, or whoever guesses the anime first correctly wins the point.
Do we get one?
Give us a word.
Anyway.
Both Mitz and I will guess what it is. If we get it wrong, we'll move on to the next word. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So speed is the name of the game here. Because honestly, you guys.
I think Hearing Caroline is the name of this game.
I think we're riding the internet struggle bus once again. Which
is it really that bad? Yeah, I don't know what's happening with my internet today.
It's all give and take. We'll figure it out. We'll manage though. It's part of the challenge.
Okay, hopefully this works out well. I have 15 anime that I have listed here, with their associated words. So, shall we get started then?
Sure. Let's get through as many as we can in the time we have. Doon 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 doon. Oh no! As someone who's normally on this side myself of internet troubles, it's much funnier on this side. I assume you said one of the words when you were.
No, I have not yet.
Okay,
I have not said the word
ready.
yet. I've been waiting for my lag thing to catch up. Okay, first we have Maria.
Maria the Teenage Witch.
Maria.
I'm thinking Attack on Titan.
Anything?
Maria the Virgin Witch.
I'm sticking with Attack on Titan.
No, my video lagged, and I didn't hear who said it first.
I don't even know. I don't even know what the answer was.
Okay, so who said what?
I said Attack on Titan. Me, the person who got it right. Oh man,
this is really bad.
Try we can.
I didn't even hear what Mitsuki said.
I think Mitz should throw up the technical difficulties banner. I think you should log out and log back into Discord and see if that helps.
Okay, we'll do.
Go for it. Go for it.
Keep going. I'm going.
I gotta get some better music for these poor people to listen to.
Oh, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
I think that music's actually.
Okay,
It's-
am I back?
You're back. You're not on video yet, but we can hear you for now.
You already basically cut
Okay.
out, so.
There we go.
All right, we'll find out.
She just
Hopefully
ran
it
downstairs
works.
and
Okay, I turned off
smacked the
my
internet
internet
really
and
loud.
turned it back on again, if that helps. Hopefully.
We'll see. We'll see.
Based on the last 12 seconds, I'm pretty skeptical. All right. Well,
So, did
Mason
one of
said
us get
Attack on
the answer
Titan.
Right.
Mason said Attack on Titan.
What did you say, Mitsuki?
I said Maria, the Virgin Witch.
Yeah, Mason was right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
I'm thinking too
That would be
minute.
point for Mason.
Well, what else is new? I never
Okay.
expected to win.
Okay, let's go into our second anime here. First word, Ling.
What was it?
Ling.
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 Yes.
Oh,
I don't know.
No
you think
clue.
next second word?
I mean, there's no harm in not guessing, so I'm gonna guess. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Damn it, you got it.
What in the world? I don't even know what the hell that clue's supposed to mean.
Ling is a character in Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, well.
He's the
having not seen
is he
that.
a prince? Something like that. Okay, third one, broccoli.
Mob Psycho 100.
You got it. This is he's just wiping you out. Oh my gosh. Fourth one, pigs.
Porco Rosso.
Spirited Away.
He's got it.
Dude, pigs plural, Mitz plural. There's only one.
Okay, number 5, hollow.
I want to say night, but that's not it.
Hollow.
Hollow.
There are people that go hollow. I actually don't know. I don't even have a good
Hollows.
guess. How do you spell hollow?
We just fucking watched this show.
HOLLOW.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, but I should. It's awfully familiar.
Yeah, like when people go hollow, I forget. Anyway, second clue, help us
Second clue, probably you'll probably get it. Orth.
What? Orth.
Orth. ORTH.
out. Ooh, man, I'm being stumped big time, and I'm going to
Is
be
that
like,
even? Is
what
that
am
even?
I
A,
thinking?
is that
Is
even
this
a word?
Fire Force?
No.
That's a
What am
decent
I
guess.
thinking of?
You need the third clue, which you will almost definitely get this now.
The chat knows it. I'm
no,
not going
they
to
do
give the answer because I've never even seen the anime, so there's no possible way I can answer it correctly.
I can tell you right now, none of those are the right answers.
Wow. Okay.
So, Orth, and I'll give you the third clue now.
Mm-hmm.
Whistle.
Oh, Made in Abyss?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
Hollow.
Really.
Yeah, so
Hollow.
hollow is like the creature like Nanachi is a hollow.
Oh, man.
And that one I
Man.
made it harder.
That
pretty
was a
hard.
tough one. I would not have.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I would not have gotten that, but literally everyone listening heard me not get it until the end. So.
Okay. That was a decent challenge for you guys.
Yeah.
Number 6, Littner.
Oh,
Oh.
I know this one.
Someone's name,
Yeah, that's the last name.
but I can't remember what it's from. Okay.
You know, I know what it is.
Maybe you do.
Just you can keep on going.
Second clue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beastman.
Beastmen. Beastars.
No.
Fuck it.
The Gurren Lagann.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Yoko Littner.
Oh,
That's
boy,
right.
yeah.
I knew it was some.
Littner just was sounding so much like an Attack on Titan name, and I was like,
Yeah.
I know that's not it.
I knew it was
but
some
it's-
over-sexualized, worthless character from an anime I don't like.
Okay. Next up. Doll.
Doll.
No, and it's not
Doll.
Shadow's house.
No.
So it'll be. I don't know.
Second clue. Gilbert.
What's eating Gilbert Grape?
Gottfried,
That
the
would not be
Lion
it.
King.
Got him.
I don't know. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, third clue. KyoAni.
What was the first clue again?
Doll.
Oh, Violet Evergarden.
Yep.
I keep
Do I
thinking.
really need this
I-
anymore?
You don't even need this. I mean, I'm way too non-mainstream. The minute you said doll, my first thought was Le Portrait de Petite Cosette,
Sorry, Mitsuki.
which has like a which I guess doesn't even have a doll in it, but it looks like a doll. So
This game can be tricky because like if you like just misinterpret the first clue, you like go down the wrong rabbit hole and it like
Yeah.
disguises you from. Anyway, okay.
Okay. Next anime. Revival.
Dr.
ReZero.
Stone.
What was it that you said, Mitsuki?
I said ReZero.
Neither.
Ooh, I thought it was gonna be like the Revival Liquid, but I guess not. I guess we both missed it. Let's go to the second clue then.
Hokkaido.
Naruto?
Golden Kamuy.
No.
I
Naruto.
feel like
what?
Hokage. I don't know if it was something close.
No, Hokkaido. The
Uh,
location.
yeah, you're right. I mislistened.
Anything?
Well,
Well, I said Golden
Myth said Golden
Kamuy. I
Kamuy.
don't fucking know.
No.
Revival?
Okay, last
and
clue.
Hokkaido.
Okay, so we got Revival, Hokkaido, and the last clue is Hinazuki.
It's not.
You got me. Well, by God, I don't know.
It's not the Sakura Quest, right? It's not that.
No.
I have no idea then.
I can think of one more clue. Best mom.
Erased?
Yes.
I would not. I would see. Revival is not what I would have.
How does he-
Revival's like he refers to that like as his ability to return to the past.
Okay. Well, I used your based mom comment to win, so you don't have to give me a point for that.
Is that the last
guess it
one?
doesn't really make much difference.
Mason just swept it.
Yeah,
Oh, oh.
I'd say.
The other question for next time we have participants call in. But this was fun.
Do I get like a door prize for being old and slow?
I mean, I don't know what I can possibly give you, Mitsuki, other than a virtual head pat, maybe.
I'll take it.
Oh, you're below me, so I'll just give you a head pat.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I accept my victory gladly and with no humility. But thanks
I
for
feel
putting
like-
this together.
This was very much a beta version, I think. It could be better.
No, it was good. It was good. I had fun.
I enjoyed having my solid ass beating.
You never do. You don't have to lie for us.
It's time for an almighty
Alright, then I won't.
anime mailbag. Anime.
Mailbag.
Oh, it gets me going every time. This mailbag comes to us from Chance Rosales, aka Nisakoi Maiko. And they write, "Hello, AAA crew. I was wondering if you guys had ever... Can't even speak right now. Have ever had a show where it wasn't to your liking, but the OP or ED was absolutely amazing? My examples are Domestic Girlfriend and Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches OP. In my case with the Yamada-kun's OP, it has become one of my favorite songs of all time and has surpassed 5 1,000 total plays. I look forward to hearing
Wow.
your opinions. That's a lot. That's an impressive.
That's
a lot of plays.
And respect to the domestic girlfriend shout out, which I didn't even see when I mentioned it earlier. So man of taste. So love to see it. So Caroline, we'll start with you.
Well,
because
as
you
we mentioned,
you-
I love this stuff.
Exactly. I defer to your expert take. So what OPs and EDs did you love where the shows kind of were not as good?
Most recently was The Promised Neverland season 2, and I know you have similar feelings, Mason.
Yeah,
I love the OP, and the show is okay, and the more I think about it, the show is also atrocious.
Both openings of The Promised Neverland were good, but one of them was significantly better than the show that followed it.
That's accurate. But I also have other thoughts. Fire Force, the OP, was amazing. I loved the first OP, and honestly, it was the OP that made me watch 3 episodes of a show I already knew I did not like.
Mhm.
The show was just not for me. I also really like Listeners. I like the OP a lot. I think I have almost all the songs listed here for my answer. It's on my Spotify. I listen to them quite a bit. Happy Sugar Life. Now, actually, this one is kind of strange. It's perfectly sweet and deranged, like the show, and it's a guilty pleasure for sure. I also love the first OP of Kekai Sensen. The show was a little bit disappointing to me though, because I was looking for more of a actual storyline going throughout the entire show and just didn't deliver that for me. But regardless, I love the OP.
Was that the OP where they had like fedoras and like dress stuff on and they were like snapping their fingers? And
That was the ED.
okay, that's the one that I remember in my head. Gotcha.
Yeah. I actually have another honorable mention. Speaking of EDs, it was the ED for Tokyo Ghoul Route A, which I don't even have to say what's wrong with Route A. Everybody knows Tokyo Ghoul knows Route A is just god awful. But the ED of it has my absolute favorite Amazurashi song, combined with like a lot of beautiful character art by Ishida. And the artwork actually changes in every single episode, and I just love it so darn much, but the anime is just bleh.
Fair enough. Mitz, what about your list?
Well, I think the ending theme of K-On! Is like pretty amazing. The Don't Say Lazy, I think it's called, is pretty strong shit. I don't really think K-On! I don't think K-On! Itself is really, I know it was really popular, but it's like whatever. There's like 1,000 shows just like it. But Don't Say Lazy is really solid. Also, the opening theme of Scride, is this for opening? Yeah, openings or endings. The opening theme of Scride, Reckless Fire, is fucking fire. So I think, as the kids would say. So, and but that anime is like barely watchable at all. So, and there's a lot of other examples as well, but I don't need to go on too far.
Yeah. So my selections, I love Studio Shaft, and I think their OPs are pretty much always fire, but I think Maria Holic is a show that was not as good as the opening. I just couldn't get through more than a few episodes of that show. And I also know, like, a lot of people don't like NaNoWriMo. The singer has a very, like, nasally voice and delivery. And I don't know, their sound works for me. And even though I wasn't a big fan of Nan Nan Biori, I like their inclusion there. Chat had some great suggestions. Obviously, Kokaku, the Miyavi's Flashback, was a great song that pulled in so many people to that show for a show that was a little overambitious and didn't really deliver. And speaking of erased earlier, like, I would say that OP, at the end of the day, like, ended up outshining the show itself. So those are some of my thoughts. But thank you so much, Nisukoi, for the mailbag. And if, like, you want to leave a mailbag, head on over to aaapodcast.com. There's a big old button at the top that says submit a mailbag. Do so, and we will read it, no matter what it is, almost. Almost. As the person who decides on what mailbags we use. So I try to go with different themes week to week. So give it a shot. Shark Tanks can be found there. All sorts of other segments we like to do. So give us your opinions. iTunes, you know the review. But anyway, let's get moving to
the drill.
Important part of this show.
Today, we're going to be doing impressions.
Impression time! Believe it!
Believe it. All right, guys. Well,
It's lagging again for me. Oh no.
We are back to the impression portion of the podcast, where we will eventually select 6 anime to do impressions on through 4 rounds of more or less mini reviews of shows from spring 2021. And then the listener, will be selecting the final 3 anime that we will be reviewing, but we are going to ourselves keep working towards our 6 picks, which so far include Godzilla SP and To Your Eternity. So we have an awful lot of stuff left to pass, and hopefully we'll get to some things today. And we're going to start off with Nomad, Megalobox Season 2, which is one of Caroline's anime. So, Caroline, why don't you tell us all about Nomad, Megalobox Season Ni?
Yes. Okay, so I actually don't have like the specific information up yet because I didn't have it prepared. Like, I don't know who the studio is, and but furthermore, so this is the 2nd season of Megalobox, which was a very, very popular sports show back in like 2019, 2018, I think, somewhere around there. Roughly, yes. And this is, if you don't know what Megalobox is, it is basically a show about this world where instead of just boxing, they attach these machines to your arms, and like just overall, kind of like just a machine to attach to your arm so you can punch harder. It sounds really strange when just listed out like that, but that's basically what it is.
It's like Rock'em Sock'em.
Yeah, Rock'em Sock'em indeed. So it follows this guy named Joe in the 1st season, and he tries to work his way up the ranks in Megalobox wearing nothing but his plain arms, no machinery or anything like that. Listen, I'm not very good at explaining things on my own. And so this season is a little bit different than the 1st season. While the 1st season kind of focused more on like just basic sports anime goals, like climbing up the ladder, getting stronger, facing the final opponent, this one actually is more based on the world and its characters and less on those basic goals. And because of that, most of the gripes that I had in the 1st season are kind of fixed here. Joe was not really a character in the 1st season, more than just a stand-in for any sports protagonist. I kind of felt didn't really have anything special about him. But here he actually has character arcs and like character flaws that are actually dealt with, and a variety of serious problems. But overall, very interesting stuff that is happening here with him. There's also this secondary character named Chief, who's really great. I find him very interesting. He's kind of basically in this season, Joe is kind of taking the role of Nanba. Was that his name? His coach's name? And he's kind of coaching Chief into working on his Megalobox so he can save his settlement of like they referred to them as immigrants as in the show. Now here the immigrants, they are really discriminated against. They are treated horribly. They speak Spanish, so I guess they're trying to take inspiration from like the U.S.-Mexico immigration situation. But I don't know if they're actually making direct comparisons to Mexican culture, and if they are, I'm not knowledgeable enough to know much about them to know if it's accurate. But regardless, like the customs that they show and the cultures that they show regarding the immigrants are very nicely presented and interesting. The musical style has changed drastically to the first. The first season had a lot of hip hop and that kind of music, but regardless, it is still really great. Very beautiful stuff. And honestly, I feel like you could watch this season without having watched the first, although I would still recommend watching the first season. And it's just really good. I'm loving this.
You were saying
so,
that. Yeah.
Of course, honestly, this could be like one of the animes of the season for me. So I'm gonna have to pass it.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Yay! We start off with good news. Nomad passes. So now we have only 3 left. And we're going to keep going with who has Tokyo Revengers. That's the next one on the list.
I have Tokyo Revengers.
All right.
So, Tokyo Revengers, based on the manga, you can watch this over on Crunchyroll, is one of 2 picks from this season that has revenge in the title for me. It tells the story of Takemichi, this freelancer who's kind of down and out, and he's kind of a loser who just like stocks shelves, even though he's got way more intelligence for it. But essentially, he finds out on the news one day that the only girlfriend that he's ever had has been killed by a ruthless gang, and he's like, man, that's a bummer. And then he's like, well, I guess I'm going to keep on living my life. And he goes to a train station, and someone pushes him from behind into an oncoming train, and he finds himself 12 years in the past as his younger self, with a chance to redo his life in these formative years. And it's kind of the story of him bouncing back between the past and the present to maybe, you know, with his knowledge, rectify the situation and save his girlfriend and his floundering life from these happening situations. So this is the second straight season of Linden Films, the studio doing this, electing for quantity over quality, because over the last season and this, they've put out like 7 shows, which is a lot, especially considering on like their typical anime productions, like they already kind of look standard to subpar. So with this deluge of titles, like it looks even worse with some very lazy shots and even lazier transitions. So the good thing about the show is that the inherent nature of time travel makes it interesting. Being able to go back and forth with very set rules of like, you go back exactly 12 years to the date. So like time moves forward in both of them. So it's not like he can endlessly retry. Like the rules of the time travel, a little inconsistent in like how it's activated, do make sense. It's easy to follow, and it's just inherently engaging, because I think everyone inherently has a desire to be like, oh, if I could go back and do it again, what would I change? What would I do? Now, knowing what I know now, how could I become better? And I think that's just inherently an interesting subject to breach. I talked about how the visuals were very weak, but even worse than that, and I think like the crux of why this show is a pain for me to watch, is the constant hand holding. Because if I had a nickel for every time that main character was like, this character, the only girlfriend I ever had, Hinata, the only girlfriend. Hinata was her name, and she was my only girlfriend ever. They do that so often. They do flashbacks to important scenes that happened 30 seconds ago to recap them immediately, so you don't forget that the girlfriend's is the only person the MC has ever had as a girlfriend, and her name's Hinata. And like, it's so repetitive. And they like constantly say like, oh, 12 years ago, exactly, to this date, in the past 12 years, on this date, but 12 years ago, mind you. Like, it's like, I'm going to keep on going because I need to stress how frustrating it is. Like, the brother of the girl, Hinata, the person who died, the MC's only girlfriend, he refers to his sister, who is deceased, by her full name, and as his sister, and as the only person that the MC has ever had as a girlfriend. Like, it is so like consistent with like blow up. It's aggravating that like you could cut this out and you would probably cut out at least half of the anime. And every time it happens, I wish I had a nickel because I'd be a rich man. And worst of all, because this character is going back in time, what will often happen is he will go back in time, an event will happen to the character, we will see it happen, and then he, in his head, will say, remember this is when, and then go on to describe exactly what we just saw him experience as he remembers him experiencing it after he just experiences it. And it's just like, we get it, like, respect your audience, like, let us just watch it. We understand, we don't need to be told this constantly. And, you know, I complained with To Your Eternity getting a flashback episode in episode 3. We're getting flashbacks, like, by episode 2 with this thing. Like, there's so many pitfalls in just kind of retreading the same waters that the show is kind of insufferable because of that. And the MC is not bad. He gets vibes, so your mileage may vary based on that. And, you know, we get some great pout faces, but I think at the end of the day, like, Nagatoro, as much as I am not into the concept, like, that's a good adaptation of a middling source material, whereas this adaptation of Tokyo Revengers is a middling adaptation from, like, good source material. So I think the anime just wastes too much of your time, and you'd be better served if you are interested in these plot and characters to just read the manga instead. And it's so cheap, it's so contrived, and it's so repetitive that I'm going to fail Tokyo Revengers, despite an inherent interest in the topic. So I said inherent way too many times in that review. Please forgive me. Please read the manga instead.
That is one big pile of shit.
There you go, Mason.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're
Are
welcome.
you glad to get that off your chest?
Maybe you didn't hear me. So the MC, his no, I'm kidding.
Like,
Oh my
who's Hinata?
Like, they repeat it. Like, I there's so many examples, but you get the idea. We can move on.
All right, I got the next show here. It's Eden Zero. Eden Zero is the latest work by the creator of Fairy Tail, Hiro Mashima. Fairy Tail being obviously, massively popular, and Eden Zero being his latest shonen entry, done by JC Staff, and it's about this. It's kind of a strange. They begin this anime in a pretty strange way. It starts off with this guy named Shiki, who is just hanging out on this girl's spaceship. Her name's Rebecca, and with her cat robot buddy whose name is Happy. So dumb. Happy is the robot's name, and it's like Shiki wants to leave the planet that he's on and go on this adventure because he wants to make friends, and that's the whole point of this anime is I want to make friends, and and meanwhile Rebecca and Happy are I guess they're VTubers. They're some kind of a YouTuber equivalent that exists in this universe where people are all traveling between planets on spaceships and whatnot, and I'm not really sure. Someone said this one's a Netflix jail, but I don't really know if it is or not. If it is, I probably just watch it somewhere else you listen. You do what you have to do to get the
They are
reviews done.
correct.
Yeah,
it is not yet out.
If I never watched anything that was in Netflix jail, I would have approximately half of my anime to review because 3 of them are in Netflix jail. So, anyway, so they arrive on this planet. That's I don't know. It's just some random fucking planet, and the Happy gets kidnapped because I guess he's valuable because he's a robot, and so Rebecca's freaking out because Happy gets kidnapped, and Shiki's like, "Oh, I'll help you get the robot back," and and because he wants to make friends, and so Shiki has some powers, and they go through an action scene, and they retrieve Happy, and then I feel like this anime really begins on the second episode, because they kind of give the backstory of how Shiki and Rebecca met, which is kind of what I wanted at the beginning of the first episode, because they kind of just dump you into the spaceship, and you're like, well, I don't really know what the fuck is going on, and all these characters are pretty much annoying, and so really they should have probably started with episode 2 and then did episode 1 second, but in episode 2, there's Rebecca and Happy arrive on this planet, and it's full of robots, and Shiki's been living on this planet as the only human, and I guess he fixes the robots, or he thinks he's fixing the robots, and ultimately what ends up happening is that he finds out that the robots have just been kind of tolerating him, and that hasn't really been fixing them from the beginning, and the robots end up getting aggressive, and they flee the planet after a pretty reasonable action scene. And you find out that Shiki is the son of some demon lord that dropped him off at this place and just left him there, basically. And so I guess that's why he has powers that he can use. But really, the whole point for the adventure and for his whole, purpose in life is just to make more friends. And because his grandfather told him that he needed to make more friends. And I think his grandfather was a robot. I don't fucking know, because he's not really descendant of robots. He just doesn't know anything about himself because he just got dropped off there. Anyway, this anime is pretty unwatchable. It's really really bad. I mean, it's if it sounds like I'm spouting off a dumb plot line that has nothing to it, it's because this anime doesn't have anything to it. It's just this fucking pile of nonsense. And the fact that the main character is on a ship with a big-titted blonde girl who looks just like the characters from Fairy Tail, who, is drawn about as hot as she could be, and she's a VTuber, and she wants to, like, have more followers, and then, and make more interesting videos, and then Shiki wants to make more friends. Let's go on this adventure. Like, you gotta just throw up in your mouth and move on. It's just not very good, And honestly, I'm pretty disappointed because, like, I never really got into Fairy Tail all that much, and I was kind of hoping for, like, a second shot with the creator because I know Fairy Tail is really popular, but from what I've seen, this is nowhere near as good as Fairy Tail. This is like one of those times where we're gonna have a topic years from now where we're gonna talk about where creators just fell off a cliff, later, and it's like they made some anime that you expected to be good because of the creator and ended up being horrendous. So that's this anime, Eden Zero. It's really bad.
It's trying so hard to be Fairy Tail, though.
I hear Mason nodding in agreement, and there's just no way, there's just no way that this one is anywhere near as good as Fairy Tail or anywhere near watchable. So this one's not passing either.
It is a travesty.
There you go.
The 3 F's of this show are followers, friendship, and fail. I think that's the summary.
I mean, I really think that like half the people that watch this are probably just gonna watch it because Rebecca's hot. That's pretty much it. And Shiki is not a likable main character at all. He's not gonna be able to carry this show. He's no, he's no Gon, he's no Goku. So, okay, next up on the list here after dispatching with that one is back to Caroline with The World Ends With You, but the impressions will not end with you.
No, they won't. So, World Ends With You. It is a video game anime, game that has been turned into an anime, and it's done by studios Shin-A Animation and Domerica, with both of which I am not familiar with. So I came in here with kind of high expectations, because it looks good. The anime, like the art style, is interesting, and it's a death game, so maybe I should not have had my expectations as high as they were. But basically, here's the story. So this guy, his name's Neku. He's 15 years old. He wears headphones constantly, so that's his only character trait. Also, he's very edgy. He wakes up in the middle of Shibuya.
Quit talking about me.
So he wakes up in the middle of Shibuya, and he doesn't know why he's there. He doesn't remember anything, and he finds that he's in the middle of this death game called the Reaper's game, and he has no idea what's going on. Nobody can see him apart from other players in this game. Meanwhile, they can see all the people that are in Shibuya during that time. So basically, they're kind of like ghosts, and they have to complete a series of challenges within a set amount of days. Otherwise, and also survive them. Otherwise, they will be erased. Basically, their existence wiped out. So the premise is pretty standard, but yeah, it looks cool. It animates pretty well for the art style that it is, like very thick lines, very colorful. And apart from from some of the CGI, it looks decent. Unfortunately, I do not like Neku one bit. And also, there's just never seems to be like any stakes because they easily pass every single challenge. They even have this like countdown that appears on their hand, and there is no reason for this countdown to be there because it never plays a significant role in how they defeat these challenges. And it's surely based on a game function that was in the original game, but they did not, like, it was almost definitely valid in the game because you have to get the players to do a certain thing before the time runs out or else they lose. But in the anime, they do them pretty quickly. So there was no reason for the countdown to be there. So if it doesn't have any place to be there, they probably should not have included it. And overall, yeah, they just finish everything so quickly. There's like never a concern about any problem coming up. And then it also just takes a very long time, 6 in-show days, for Neku and the viewer to get any basic information about the Reaper's game. And it comes from the girl that he's been with since day one. So, like, you could have asked one simple question to this girl on the first day, the first episode, and I've gotten all the information that you needed to make it, like, to understand what the heck is going on here. But no, it takes 3 episodes and 6 in-show days. Honestly, I'm very interested to play the game because it seems like it would be a lot of fun, but it's just not really doing anything for me.
Man, this game came out like a long freaking time ago.
They have a few other games in the series, and then I think there is a new game coming out in the summer, which is coming out on the Switch, which I've mentioned I will play if it's on the Switch.
This anime is just a big advertisement for the remake or whatever of the game, and this show is definitely best served in the game form, not through an anime.
If they really wanted to make this an anime, they would have had to pay more attention to how do you make it an anime and not just an anime based on a game.
It's generally not a good sign.
Yeah, I feel like first thing first, maybe not choose the character insert character that they have in the game, because then you actually have somebody interesting to play as. But Neku is just a whiny and edgy lord.
But he's the main character. You really can't choose.
No, but you can base it on the game and make an anime out of it.
But that's not what people who like the game want.
I mean, I guess not. But
they want the game in anime form.
They really should have taken a look at like the details of the video game and think of, okay, do we actually need this in the anime? Yes, no, then get it out of here, or rearrange something so it makes it a little bit more interesting.
You're saying they needed a little bit of editing.
I mean, some of them are also based on because again, the countdown thing really bothered me. It's like, why is this here?
To add tension.
Tension, yeah, but they don't do anything with it.
Hey, I haven't watched it. I'm just saying.
It's not great. It's like all the Persona adaptations. It's just better to play the game. It's what the story was intended for, to be paced as, to be visualized as, and in this medium, it just is awkward and stilted, and all the references just don't play off well unless you know the game, and then you're like, haha, I remember that, but it doesn't really serve to add anything.
Well, it's not that shocking.
I'm not gonna lie. Like the ending of the 3rd episode seemed kind of interesting, but it was definitely not enough for me to actually continue. So
I mean, think about it. It's like, how long does it take to play Persona 4? It's like an 80-hour game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got like 8 hours max for an anime, and The World Ends With You, I'm sure it's probably at least a 30-hour game, 20 to 30 hours, and you got like 4 hours of an anime to fit it in. Well, it's a pretty tough ask. So
yeah, well, if a game is very story based, it'd make a good anime, but if it's more gameplay based, it's not going to make a good anime.
Not always, but you're not wrong.
So I'm guessing this one, you're not going to keep this one.
Sorry.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
This one you might end up having to watch anyway. That's one of those shows that most people know about the franchise, and it may
I
come
don't
back.
think so.
Oh,
I think there's enough other solid stuff this season that the people who want The World Ends With You, they already know they like it, and there's not enough of them to change the tides.
All right.
I think we're safe.
All right, well, we got 2 more shows here. Will we pass one of them? Mason 86, which is a very questionable title.
It is, though. I like the brevity of it. I like it when it's not the full plot of the light novel, not the full synopsis in the title itself. But 86 tells the story of the Republic of San Magnolia, who's at war with the neighboring empire. The other empire is sending mechanized drones that look like the Tachikomas from Ghost in the Shell, but a little more weaponized, I guess. And these are all like autonomous units. And so to fight these AI machines, the Republic sends out their own machines that are not piloted by humans. So, there's no blood in this war, except for the fact that the pilots that the Republic sends out are actually piloted by humans. But they consider them to be such a lower class of human and like not members of the same republic that essentially, if we don't call them humans, there's no humans fighting, and therefore we're good. We're all morally A-okay. And this tells the story of a commander of a unit of quote unquote not humans, and the relationship they have with their even higher up commander, which is located within the Republic. And it has very heavy-handed but still impactful themes of like PTSD and class divide and all those sorts of things that you would expect from a warfare era thing that takes place maybe in like a weird future past thing where you have like, I don't know, the year is 2148, but they use things like fountain pens and like classic cars with like cutting edge command centers. So it's kind of all over the place stylistically, but I guess that is kind of saying a disservice because it is done by A1 Pictures, and this is probably one of the best looking shows of the season. They really put their all into it, and it looks solid. It's got competent CG, well realized environments, and just like nice attention to detail and slight movements that really give the characters a sense of life, even when the writing is maybe a bit stilted. But essentially the show, which is airing on Crunchyroll, I should say, tosses you like immediately into the deep end of like pseudo military English aggressive nicknames for all the people. They give you the whole cast up in front and center, and they kind of expect you to kind of figure things out as you go along, and it's pretty fast paced, and I enjoy it. And it starts off strong, and I think it's actually getting even better. The last couple episodes, 4 and 5, which I continue to watch, I think is really turning me around on the show, and I'm enjoying it. I think it's a solid show. You can't discount the hype factor of Hiroyuki Sawano, who provides the music. It's very much, like I said, I think in my first take on the show, it's very much Iron-Blooded Orphans in kind of like just kids fighting against other machines, and it feels earnest. I like the cast. You kind of learn their personalities and the way they play off one another, the way they play card games in their downtime, or darts, or a kitty shows up and they all call it different names because they can't decide. And of course this means you get plenty of death flags because these kids are going to die because they are fighting a horrific war, and you're going to get attached to them, and then they're going to die, and then you're going to cry, and then you're going to learn a lesson, and everyone's going to grow from it. So I don't know. I guess the biggest problem I have with the show is that it came out in this season where there's plenty of other stupendous shows. Like, I enjoy it. I'm going to keep watching it. I am interested to see what is going to happen. This will be a 2-core show because there is a lot of faith and hype around it, but it just isn't one of my favorites. And while I think it's a good show, I can't pass it after the things I'm going to talk about next week. So it's going to be a very sad fail from me, but I'm not discouraged. And if any of that sounds interesting, I recommend checking it out because it's stepping its game up. So we'll see where that game goes.
You shall not pass!
Wow, we're on a cold streak here. 4 fails in a row.
Boom, knocking them down.
Just what happens.
Well,
we only get 2 passes.
Unfortunately, the next one here is Vivy, Flourite Eyes Song, which is a strange title and also a strange story. So, Vivy, done by Wit Studio. It's an original property done by director Shinpei Ezaki, who I'm not sure how much directing he's done. He did like a slice of some Guilty Crown. Oh, he did Hanebado, Monster Strike. That's about it. So, Vivy Flourite Eye Song is a pretty complex story, sort of, about a world where there's these really highly advanced artificial intelligences that I guess are going to cause a war in the future. And this is a time travel anime, and I don't really care for time travel anime very much. I find them to be routinely convoluted unnecessarily and pretty annoying in that way. And so bear with me here. So 100 years in the past, from where there's this big war that's going to happen, there's an AI named Vivy. And Vivy works at an amusement park, and her mission that she's programmed with is to sing and make people happy. She's like a fake diva at this amusement park, and there's like a stage where she goes out and sings, and everyone's like, oh my god, look, yay, you know, whatever. And her job is to like make people smile or whatever. And there's a really annoying stuffed bear, which is like why, named Matsumoto, who comes back in the past from the future, and he finds Vivy. And it's he explains to her, I think in episode 2, that in the future, like all the AI are pretty much destroyed, but she's like been pretty well preserved in a museum where she exists. And he finds her in the museum, and because she's been so well preserved and he was able to like touch base with like that in the future, he goes back in the past to find Vivy. Because I was wondering, like, why would you pick this robot for your mission? So what is the mission? Basically, he goes back in the past because he wants to try to prevent the war from happening that is going to, you know, fuck up mankind, for lack of a better word. And so there's all these different like events that need to be changed in the past in order to cause these wars to not break out in the future. And so there's, right off the bat, there's like this episode 2, there's like a politician guy who these terrorists are going to try to kill, and they're going to try to demolish this giant corporate building because they are, you know, basically going to trigger a chain of events that are going to cause laws to be passed that are going to inevitably, you guessed it, lead to the war happening. In episode 3, they start off with like she's on like a space hotel, and ultimately what will happen at the space hotel is that like the robot lady who like owns the hotel or runs the hotel is going to cause the hotel intentionally to crash into the earth and kill like a ton of people that are on the hotel. And that is going to cause like anti-AI sentiment that will allow like, you know, you guessed it, chains of events to happen that will make this war break out in the future. And so like when they leave you in episode 3, you're halfway through this like section of the show where Vivy is going to prevent Estella, this like other AI, from destroying the space station. So that's pretty much what this anime is about. You know, Vivy, she's not much of a combat robot. She can't really fight all that well because she's meant to sing. But, you know, she's like doing her best, I guess. And the anime looks about as good as an anime is going to look. It looks pretty fucking good. There are certain moments of the anime where the action scenes are like top notch, I would say. They're not really like hand-to-hand combat scenes so much, but there's, you know, just like what is happening is interesting and exciting, I would say. The anime isn't always good. The Matsumoto, the bear guy, he's got an annoying voice, and he's everything. Every time I see like a stuffed bear or like a dumb-looking animal talking, I'm always like rolling my eyes. I don't like it. I didn't like it in Danganronpa. I didn't like it in Amagi Brilliant Park. I don't like it ever. I think Matsumoto is almost enough for me to fail this anime just by himself because he's so fucking annoying. And he's constantly in this anime. He is basically the main character, and it is painful, unbearable that his ass exists. But you know, he doesn't want AIs to, you know, ravage mankind in the future or whatever. So his mission is to save whatever. Vivy's okay. You know, she's pretty and she's nice. She's kind of dumb. You know, and the anime hasn't done like a great job of telling its story so far, I would say. Like, I think that the plot line of the war in the future isn't very well fleshed out. And I don't think that there's all that great of a connection as to like why the chains of events are going to lead to the war happening. But ultimately, this is probably one of the better shows of the season, and a season that I have so far found to be, not, at least from my shows, not that good. But this is like, according to my anime list, the third highest rated show of the season. The score is pretty high. But this like goofy bear shit is like, you know, there are a few things that I really hate in anime, and this is one of them. I think he's horrible. So,
and I think the other one is two-toned hair.
Two-toned hair, just like dumb fucking shit. Like just dumb shit. Like, you know, like moe girls that scream all the time, two-toned hair, like characters that don't even remotely behave like they would in real life in a given situation, and fucking stuffed teddy bears and etc. You know. Oh, and I also didn't like it in that one really violent anime we watched. What the hell is that thing called? Where she
Gleipnir.
Gleipnir. I didn't like it in Gleipnir. I'm consistently not liking it, and it's always a fucking bear. I don't know why, but ultimately, yes. And Zero Ryoko in the chat says Jun Fukuyama is the bear voice. Well, he's doing a bad job. I think he's annoying. So, so ultimately though, I'm gonna pass this. I guess I think it's definitely the other anime I've got that's the best of my 7. I did watch 86. I thought about passing that. Ultimately, I don't think 86 is better than Vivy. I think they're arguably about the same, and considering that this one has such a high score, this one would come back guaranteed if I didn't pass it, so I might as well just pass it anyway, because we're going to watch it no matter what. So I am going to pass Vivy, and we are going to, but I will say reluctantly, because I'm not all that hype on it. So here we go.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
There you go. Lock it up.
I mean, I really didn't like the show, but I could maybe, if it got good later, maybe recommend Tokyo Revengers to later mates. I know you don't like the time travel, but it's got delinquents. It's got that whole appeal to it. So maybe there's a chance, but I think you just didn't pick the best shows of the season, like myself, where I'm just drowning in how many solid shows there are.
Well, I don't know.
I've been doing myself as well.
I'm drowning in like mediocre anime. I'm drowning in mediocre anime. Like Sesutasu is like okay, right? You know, Shaman King is okay. You know, most of them are just okay. But like Vivy, the first episode was okay. The second episode was really good, and the third episode was shit. So I mean, it's you know, it's been up and down, and I just hope it doesn't become this anime that's like these isolated like, oh, you have to do this, and now for no fucking reason we're in like this part of the world doing some other shit, and then in this, and I hope they just don't. I hope they're not just gonna chop this show into like 5 pieces, where like these 5 things that have to happen, and that's the end. Because, you know, we were like chilling on Earth, and now we're on a fucking space station with no information as to how we got there or anything. So I just don't really. I don't know. Maybe I fell asleep and missed it, but you know, stuff like that drives me nuts. But then again, I think most time travel anime, most time travel stories to me aren't very good. So. It is what it is.
So,
all right.
What shows have we passed so far?
We have passed.
Or anyone.
We have passed Godzilla SP, To Your Eternity, Nomad, Megalo Season 2, and Vivy. We have some left over here that we still have to do. We have not done an impression on Shaman King. We have not done Zombieland Saga Revenge, Odd Taxi, or we have not done Joran, I think. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Joran. So we got 4 left to go. We got 2 passes, so 2 of those 4 will pass, and we'll have to see which ones they are.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Got 2 spots left.
All right, that was the penultimate impressions episode, and now we're going to go through some of our social media in case you're interested in following any of us. Well, I can generally be found at AA Podcast on Twitter because that's, you know, I just run it. I don't really have a personal Twitter because I don't really have anything interesting to say. Mitsugi can be found at Pope Mitsugi. Mandy can be found at Mandy X Mandy, and Mason can be found at Macy Pacey, and we are also on Facebook and Discord. So, speaking of Discord, let's talk about some of the things that are going on in the clubs. We have Anime Club, which will be watching Samurai Flamenco the entirety of that show. So we are going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus, and we're going to be discussing it on June 2nd. But to kind of do something on May 12th when the next meeting would be, we're going to be watching Sensorol. Is that how you pronounce it, Mason?
Maybe. Sensorol, perhaps?
I don't know. I've never heard about it before, but we're going to watch it all together May 12th at 10 p.m. EDT.
Yeah, it's a short movie, so that'll be fun. Manga Club is going to be discussing Wotakoi May 12th at 10 p.m. EDT, volumes 1 through 2. So if you missed your chance last time, you got second chance, so we'd love to see you there.
And yeah, that's basically it.
All right,
Thanks
bye
for joining
guys.
us today. Have a great weekend. Bye.
I love you. Bye.